afternoon and welcome back to Girded with Truth. In continuing our series, Change is Inevitable, we would like to talk about keeping the old. Now, sometimes when we change, there are things that we need to get rid of. But I want to talk about the precepts, the principles, certain things that you have learned before you need to keep in order to progress and grow. Isaiah chapter 28 verses 9 to 10. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and are drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. So here we are learning that in order to teach knowledge and for others to understand doctrine, meaning principles, the word, they need to be at a certain level of maturity. So here it is saying they must be weaned from milk and drawn from breast, which is the analogy of a baby coming out of the baby state. So they must be beyond the stage of breastfeeding, they must be beyond the stage of bottle feeding as well. But then he goes on to say that precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. A precept is a principle that you place as a command in order to set things in order. So if you are laying down a precept, it means that you are bringing order to something. And we know sometimes children can be disorderly. So in order to set order, we need to place one precept at a time, one line at a time, and then we build upon each one until the child or the person has come into the maturity in which they need to be, or they have grown as an individual, because sometimes our mindsets or our minds are limited to what we can understand in any given moment. So in order to move from one stage to the next, we have to start somewhere. And you can't start in the middle and you can't start at the end. So you have to begin somewhere. You have to start at the very beginning. But there is the process of building. So you have to build with the foundation. You don't start with a roof first. You start with the foundation first. So as you build, he's saying precept upon precept, line upon line. And because a precept is a command with an order, we know there's an order to this maturity or these levels of maturity in which you would enter. And as we begin to grow, we have to understand covenant. And covenant is very important. It's kind of like a contract, but it goes a lot deeper than a contract. Hebrews chapter 8 verses 7 to 13 says, For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. in that he says, a new covenant he has made, the old first. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away. So here, the instruction being spoken about is the covenant of all the rituals and all the things we had to do, or the Israelites rather, had to do when God had first spoken to them. But now God is saying, no, there's no longer these acts that you have to do. Now it's a heart thing. Now it's a mind thing. He's saying he will put the laws in their mind and he will write them upon their hearts. And then we will have this relationship where I am their God and they are my people. And that is what God is saying to us today. He's saying to us today, change is inevitable. He's saying to us today, step into what's new and step into what's next. And he's saying no longer would you be required to just commit these acts or do these things. He's saying it will go beyond that. It will flow out of our relationship. He is saying that it will flow out of your heart and out of your mind because you are connected to him through the relationship. God did not intend for us to follow rituals and become traditional. He intended that we would always have a relationship with him. But in the Old Testament, a lot of times the Israelites turned it into rituals. Once they fulfilled what they had to do, then they thought they were fine. But that was not the intent for the law. The intent for the law was for us to live different, separated lives, lives pleasing unto God, and for our relationship with God to remain pure and consistent. But we took it to be ritualistic, and God is saying, no, now I'm going to develop this relationship with them and I will forget their iniquities. And he's saying to you today, he's ready to forget your iniquities. There's nothing that you would have ever done in your life that God is not ready to forgive. He's waiting with open arms, just like the father who received the prodigal son. He is waiting for you to come home, and he is saying that this is a new covenant. Does it mean that the old principles and the old laws don't apply? No. It is the same commands, the same principles, just taken a step further, just taken a standard further, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. We have to now come into the place of maturity where we are ready to walk with God in this relationship. And then when we come into this place of maturity, this stage of maturity, God is saying that we will be his people and he will be our God. So today, again, I'm telling you, change is inevitable, but God remains constant. So today, join me as we pursue this relationship with God, as we take what we need from the old covenant but enter into the new covenant. Keep the principles of old but focus on what's new, leaving everything else behind. Follow God consistently because change is inevitable. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.